Welcome to the December 30th, 2016 edition of Colorado Inside Postgame, a special web exclusive production here on Channel 12. Let's get a quick take on the complex issues of homelessness and affordable housing making news in 2016, and that will very likely be continuing that trend in 2017. Both the City of Denver and the state budget are looking to address the problems. And let's throw in this topic as well, the idea of the 16th Street Mall. We talked about this on our Look Ahead show for 2017, and it was part of the good conversation as we started this segment, so we'll throw that in there as well. Patty Calhoun from Westward. As we looked at 2017 specifically about those troubling issues we've seen in Denver, homelessness and the 16th Street Mall, what do you think we might see as at least a start of a solution in 2017?
Well, we've seen attempts at starts of solution on homelessness for, 12 years now since Denver's Road Home was started. First of all, I would like to see the city actually make it look like they're paying attention to the homelessness. They've done a little more in the 16th Street Mall, but it seems like all they want to pay attention to is developers or maybe bike lanes, which I don't see a lot of homeless in. But although that might be a good solution, it's not exactly camping. You could just be on your bicycle. The homeless problem is so tricky because we've got the sweeps, but you're sweeping them to where? So you have to be clear what shelters are available, what services are available, and what do you do with the people? And these are the chronically homeless, most of them mentally ill or drug addicted, but clearly have problems who don't want to go into the shelters. You can't force them into the shelters. They're going to go somewhere. That is the trickiest problem, but as a major urban center that is in basically a desert, so homeless are going to come here, you have to solve that problem. And part of the problem is they land on the mall during the day, although they've been swept off the mall during the night by the camping ban, which is why you have them in so many different pockets around the city.
David Kopel from the Independence Institute and DU Law School are many times calling at this table. Natasha Gardner's done a great job in 2016 talking about how homelessness is not this big umbrella. There is mental health issues, there's addiction issues, there's other poverty issues. Do you think in 2017 we might see the city of Denver approach it in that broken up fashion, which might actually point to some solutions?
Some solutions for some people, the ones who have a particular problem, you can provide an answer for them. For some people, if maybe they're mentally ill, but you can get them into voluntary treatment, maybe they can start taking medication, and they're starting to feel better in 3 days, and continue with that and get back on their feet. But it's been a chronic problem for decades. But I guarantee you, we will see more attention to it in the media, because when Republicans are president, the national media becomes much, much more interested in problems of the homeless than when Democrats are president. So I guarantee you, how many times do you find the word homeless in the New York Times in 2017 compared to in 2015? Buy stocks in the word homeless. It's sure to go up. On affordable housing, the government can't provide everything. It doesn't have the resources. The way you provide, the government doesn't provide food for everybody by trying to run farms, Cuban style. You try to have an economy where private producers do it in an affordable way. The key thing to affordable housing for the public in general, and not just for some lucky people who get into a government building, there's only a fraction of the people who have the need, is for housing to be affordable to build and rent, which sometimes does happen with housing developers, and it can be helped with reasonable zoning laws and safety codes and all those things that provide a good, properly built buildings, but don't jack up the cost too much. And that's why the legislative efforts on tort reform legislation for housing builders may be important.
Eric Sonham, political analyst. Do you think we're going to see more cooperation between the City of Denver and the State of Colorado, seeing that we've at least seen announced priorities both from Governor Hickenlooper and from Mayor Hancock, and the fact that it's not that long ago that Governor Hickenlooper was Mayor Hickenlooper?
And Governor Hickenlooper inaugurated Denver's Road Home, and this was a major thrust of his administration as mayor, particularly during the first term. There are no easy answers here. Now, fortunately, we're going to have Donald Trump in the White House. I don't know that he'll be able to do this by February, but presumably by the time May or June rolls around, the country will be, quote, great again, and these issues will solve themselves. If you don't believe in that, I think I have more answers of what not to do than I have of what to do, which might be why I'm a pundit and not a mayor or governor or whatever. But if you're the city, one of the things not to do are some of these sweeps, or particularly the details of the sweeps, of confiscating property, taking blankets away. I mean, things that are not only bad optics, bad public relations, they just don't make any policy sense either. I don't understand the thinking behind those. If you are a concerned citizen of Denver or the metro area, a compassionate citizen who is worried about the homelessness issue, one thing you cannot do that would further this issue is quit donating money to panhandlers. Now, there is not a one-to-one correlation between panhandlers and homeless. I fully know and acknowledge that. But there is some correlation. And take your generosity, take your generous spirit, and donate it to a worthwhile service provider or worthwhile organization. But the incentives you are providing by handing over that $1 bill or $5 bill at the intersection are the wrong incentives.
Penfield Tate, attorney with QTech Rock, also a longtime state lawmaker. If you had some of the lawmakers this year, for 2017, come to you for some advice, or maybe somebody in the Hancock administration ask you, what should we do in 2017 to address even a part of the problem? What's your advice?
You know, a couple of things. Part of it is what you do, and part of it is what you message. I think Eric's last point was a very good one. You give the wrong reinforcement when you give money to panhandlers on the street. They have no incentive to seek treatment. They have no incentive to go to shelters. They have no incentive to do a number of things because you're basically providing the job for them, and the job is panhandling. You know, the first thing you have to do is recognize this is not only multifaceted, but it is a multi-jurisdictional issue. Denver can't solve homelessness by itself, nor can the state. Denver's got to do something like DRCOG. Denver's got to talk to Aurora and Wheat Ridge and Littleton and Lakewood and Thornton and North Glen, because this impacts the entire metro area. It is not just a Denver problem. And I know some of these communities may say, well, gee, the 16th Street Mall is not in our city. Why should we care? Well, because if Denver keeps sweeping, some of these people will end up in your communities. So you need to acknowledge that this is a metro-wide problem. Two, the Pena administration started Denver Cares years ago, which was initially started as a way to pick up some people who were not only just homeless, but visibly intoxicated or in an altered state of consciousness, so they could have a safe place to sort of clean up, dry out, and get it together again. That model probably needs to be re-examined and re-explored. You've got to work with mental health providers, you've got to work with substance abuse providers, but you've got to have a comprehensive approach. Next, you need to do things to discourage. You need to clean up the 16th Street Mall. You need to get a police and law enforcement presence visible there. You need to improve lighting. You need to sit down with all of the property owners of this vacant space on the mall and talk with them about comprehensively coming together in a way that solves the problem by reactivating the mall, but also helps these people because they'll make money. You've got to do all of that in concert. You know, we do revenue sharing with Adams County for Airport City. We can do some other creative things if we put our minds to it, but we've got to be aggressive and active about this because the problem is not going to solve itself.
I realize my example, my question was imaginary, but I'm hoping that some folks in either administration were listening. You'd be a good source of advice. Well said, Penn. That's all the time we have for Colorado Inside Out Postgame this week. Leave us a comment. Tell us what you think. For everyone here at CPT12.org, I'm Dominic Dezzutti. Thanks for watching.